Great. Okay. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for having me to talk about sustainability, and in particular, to set the context around what we're doing in Microsoft around sustainability. And I'd be really happy to hear any questions or any follow-up on LinkedIn, either really open to it. So the first thing that I wanted to highlight was around our climate and business challenges and then our sustainability journey. And then Rishika is going to bring you through a little bit more detail on the Cloud for Sustainability platform and the actual opportunity to work together going forward. So what are the overall sustainability drivers? I've no doubt many of you will be connected into COP27 in Egypt this week, and there's a lot of discussion about regulation, about investors, financing, the connection around customers, and really these are some of the key, apart from some of the much wider planetary issues which we are all seeing, observing, feeling. Actually, in Ireland, we probably in one way benefited in terms of a better summer. Having said that, there'd be a lot of farmers who wouldn't appreciate that, and a lot of businesses as well. But in reality, different parts of the world are experiencing much greater impact in terms of the destructive nature, whether it's wildfires, flooding, etc. The overall business sustainability drivers is certainly one of increased regulations. So whether you are affected by the CSRD or the SEC, there are much greater focus from on regulations overall. If you take the CSRD, over 50,000 businesses in Europe are going to be affected by this. So businesses generally are going to have to report and record on their impact from a sustainability point of view. There's growing expectations from investors, and there's actually a lot of research that supports this in terms of the amount that investors are taking the green agenda, whether you're focused on sustainability in terms of access to finance. So this is going to become even more important going forward. The rising consumer demand. So there is a much greater focus from customers. And even in this current context, where we are all facing a much greater focus on energy costs, etc., even from a consumer household point of view, even in that context, consumers are saying that they are looking for much greater focus from brands around sustainability, and they're actually willing to pay more where there is a reduced impact from an environmental point of view, be it on emissions, etc. And then the final thing in terms of the drivers is really around the business case. So there has been a huge amount of work. Deloitte has done a large piece of work forecasting the amount of opportunity around sustainability, the amount of investment, the amount of growth that is available through efficiencies, streamlining operations, supply chain management, etc. So over the next, number of years, there will be serious opportunity from a business point of view. So if you take greater regulation, greater focus in terms of the access to financing and the access through investors, a rise from consumers in terms of requirement around sustainability, and then the actual business case for sustainability is a key driver as well. If you take attracting talent, if you take retaining talent in terms of people wanting to be aligned to organizations that are very purpose-driven, this is a key aspect that you need to be thinking about over the next number of years for the health of your business and how you're going to evolve it. Now, there's no doubt there's lots of obstacles, right? And many people that I would be speaking to would be like, well, how do I balance running a business as well as investing for the future. And I suppose one of the things that I would say on this is that a key thing is really working it into your strategy and embedding it into the fabric of the organization, because there's no doubt there's a lot of issues around, you know, a lack of global standards. You only have to look up the number of regulations and standards that relate to sustainability. It is a lot. But even if you focus in on CSRD, the SEC, the UN, like if you even just focus on core ones, there's a lot behind it. Understanding your footprint and then understanding what it is that you need to do, whether it's reduce, remove, recycle, you know, the strategic conversations. But the first thing is to kind of understand your status, and you need support with that, whether it's partnering with somebody or actually building the capability within your organization yourself. But like ideally, it makes sense working with somebody who is actually doing that. No doubt there is a lot of obstacles around manual processes, the value chain, transparency, even ourselves. From a sustainability reporting point of view, we made great strides in Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions, but in our Scope 3 emissions, we were learning as well. It's not a linear process. You know, we made strides on it, we took a step back, we made changes, which I'll talk to a little bit later in terms of the learnings. And I think that's one of the things that really comes through in the discussions around sustainability. It is a complex issue, but it isn't linear. It will take steps back as well. You need to learn. You need to actually take part in webinars like this, where you're hearing different perspectives, different insights, and what has worked and hasn't worked. So even in the value chain transparency, there are pluses and minuses in terms of the issues associated with that. Silo data and then capital investment trade-offs. So there's no doubt there's lots of obstacles associated with this. So getting a clear understanding of the plan that you need to develop, the situation you're in, and where you need to move to is very critical at this point. To share a little bit about Microsoft's ambitions around the strategy. And if you're looking at any of the coverage, you'll see Brad Smith, who is our president, on stage and in discussions around COP27. And it is all about our advocacy for sustainability as a topic, ensuring that we are bringing everybody along on that journey and making a clear leadership in the discussions around COP27 as well. So Microsoft will be carbon negative by 2030 and will remove all historic emissions emitted either directly or via electricity consumption by 2050. So there's a lot of discussions around net zero, but when you take into account, actually, we're saying we are working towards a path of net zero in the next number of years, but actually what we're trying to do is get it to a carbon negative perspective by 2030, and then removing all of our historical or the equivalent historical emissions by 2050, which is significant even in terms of ambitions that have been announced. What I would say is we are also on track to do this. As I said, there has been progress, which I will bring you through, and there have been areas of learnings. And I do think that it is a great opportunity to learn from each other, cross-sectoral, cross-industry, in terms of what's working and what's not. That's carbon negative. We're also our goals are to be zero waste, water positive, and to restore more land than we use by 2030. We also announced our 1 billion Climate Innovation Fund, and this is again to try and accelerate the activities and the projects so that we actually start seeing the actions associated with these ambitions and pledges across industry, and we're enabling organizations to do this as well. So investing to build the leading platform technology solutions to environmental challenges. This is our focus around carbon, waste, water, and the ecosystems. And it's not just in terms of our own responsibility and how we aspire to make progress around sustainability. What's also key is that we are trying to enable customers and partners to do this as well. I mentioned the 1 billion over the 4 years, and this is really the reason we're doing this is to try and speed up that development of sustainability technologies. We have allocated about 500 million of that already at this point, which, you know, still there's quite a significant amount still to allocate over the next couple of years. But already we're starting to see projects bring to fruition that maybe wouldn't have been invested in previously. So in terms of our progress, as I mentioned, 571 million has been allocated. In terms of our carbon buy down, over the 2 years since we provided an update on our progress, we had done a purchase 2.5 million tonne. Actually, last year we made the largest purchase of carbon. In terms of our water, we were able, through our partnership with Water.org, we provided more than 95,000 people with access to safer water or sanitation. And then, as you would have read, quite a bit around our circular centres have opened a number and are opening more over the next number of years. And that is a key focus for us in terms of reducing waste. So how we report is, and I mentioned that we produced a sustainability report in 2020. A key thing around this is providing transparency, providing trust about what we're doing, and also showcasing some of the reporting and helping others learn during this process. So we report on against reporting standards, policies and practices, environmental indicators, material issues and governance structures. It is really well worth a read. The chart that I showed just one chart ago is directly from that. So it outlines our ambitions, the progress that we're making, and then the learnings. And I really like the approach on the sustainability report, actually, because Scope 3, as I said, we hadn't made as much progress this year. We strengthened our supplier conduct. We focused on making sure that we had maximum number in scope of those suppliers, part of that supplier conduct, and also actually reporting as well. So we really strengthened that. The other thing we did was we increased the amount of reporting as well, so the frequency, so that people have visibility of the issues around Scope 3 reporting. So I'm hoping now with this year, with the changes that we've made and the learnings that we've shared, that there will be much greater progress again this year. And really, just I suppose the last thing that I wanted to leave you with is that progress depends on a common foundation for accurate, consistent, reliable measurement. And really, if we can do that, if we can work together collectively to do this, I think that that will really help businesses on their journey. And we're here to help and support. I'm going to hand over to Ritika, but I'm really happy to take any questions at the end, or if you want to directly reach out to me on LinkedIn.